So then I was like, roll a wisdom saving throw. And he rolls natural 1. Best part of the night. Oh, hello! Well, this is Kelsey from the Arcane Library, and I was just talking to my Halloween pumpkin about how to write horror adventures for Dungeons & Dragons, so I'm glad you're here because I want you to join in on this conversation with me. Let's get into it. So, how to write horror. This is an interesting topic because horror for Dungeons & Dragons is kind of its own breed of material. It's got some elements to it that sets it apart from a standard D&D adventure or high fantasy style adventure. So there's some considerations you'll want to take when you're working on material of this kind for yourself, or if you're running a horror game for your characters, your players, which you should be soon because it's almost Halloween. Releasing this video in October, so you have a week left of horror and you really have to take advantage of it. So here we go. There are 3 important elements to a horror adventure, and the first one is suspense. So that seems kind of expected. Suspense and horror, those two are often spoken together in the same sentence. But when you're building suspense into a D&D game, it's about information. So creating suspense means slowly revealing information about something that's going on in the adventure over time. And it does not mean withholding information from your characters, or your players, I should say. So an example of this is when the characters are just starting off on their adventure and you're giving them hints and rumors about something creepy that's going on that's leading into the actual horror scenario that you're about to put them through. That's building suspense. So you don't want to reveal who the bad guy is or the source of the danger or horror right away, but you want to trickle out information over time. And that keeps the uncertainty about the situation high, and it sort of pulls the players in because it's piquing their curiosity and drawing them into something without giving them all of the answers right away. And that's kind of how you maintain suspense throughout the adventure. So the second element of a D&D adventure for horror is creating a sense of powerlessness in the characters. And you'll see this often in horror films where the first 2/3 or so of the movie are about the victims of the, person in a ski mask or serial killer. It's about the victims not being able to fight back against that threat. And so in D&D, when you're creating horror, you want to instill this sense of powerlessness, which is actually really challenging in 5th edition because Dungeons & Dragons is about the characters being powerful heroes who are the kind of people who go out and attack problems and, use their powers to solve issues. So when you're developing a sense of powerlessness in D&D, you have to kind of think laterally about how to do this. You want to sidestep the conventions of what makes D&D characters heroic and try to incorporate things that attack the characters', weaknesses. So an example might be denying the characters a chance to get a long rest. So that's going to increase their sense of powerlessness because suddenly their resources are becoming more limited. Whereas something that doesn't work as well would be throwing a combat at the characters, because in D&D, the characters are designed to excel in combat, and that's sort of their bread and butter. So you actually are not going to create such a sense of powerlessness. You're actually giving power back to the characters when you're allowing them to get into combat. So a pretty important element of maintaining this sense of dread and powerlessness is denying things like combat that will give the characters a sense of relief and, the ability to address the issues. So I'm going to give you guys an example of this later on in a few minutes as we jump into an adventure that I wrote that you can download for free. And you'll see how I'm trying to develop a sense of powerlessness for the characters during the middle portions of the adventure. And then the final thing is mystery. So mystery and suspense, these are 2 related items, but they're very important for horror. And mystery is about giving the characters a sense that there is something to find out that they can't quite grasp. So you can do this a lot through foreshadowing, like through rumors tables and hints at what's going on. But in an example that I'm about to show you guys, there's an adventure where the mystery is what is the creature that is harassing our group. So when you're trying to maintain the sense of mystery in the adventure, you are giving out tiny pieces of information that plays into the suspense aspect, but you're not revealing it all right away. So I want to illustrate these 3 really crucial items for a horror adventure for you guys. And so I actually wrote a little kind of 2-hour scenario that I'm going to give away for free. So you can grab the link to download this below in the description. But this is going to kind of walk you through some examples of what I'm talking about when I'm discussing mystery, powerlessness, and suspense. And so this little module is called The Night Hunter. And it's for first level characters. You could probably do this in one sitting. It's like roughly 2 hours worth of content. And what's going on in this one is the background is very simple. The characters are traveling through a wooded area. And hopefully this is something that happens commonly in your campaign. Woodland areas are pretty typical, so I tried to make this as broad and generic as possible for you to take advantage of. So the synopsis here is that the characters are traveling through a part of a forest that they don't realize is the hunting ground of this supernatural creature called the Night Hunter. And so the adventure is events-based, and it's about the course of one evening where the characters are dealing with the attacks of this being that chose them as its next prey. So starting off here now, we're gonna kick it off with some mystery. Like I said earlier, rumors and some hints at what's to come is very important for creating this sense of, what's going on and we need to get answers. So the very first encounter in this is called The Howling. And this is how you introduce the adventure to the characters. And what's happening is as the sun has set and the characters are making camp, there is a howling, a keening sort of supernatural sound that rises up on the wind. And the characters can tell right away, at least the character with the highest wisdom can tell right away that this is not an animal, that this is some kind of intelligent being. And so what I'm doing here is I'm giving a sense of suspense and mystery because the characters immediately are getting a sense that this is not typical. This is not something they recognize. They're not familiar with it. It's not a bear. It's not a wolf. And it's something that might even have a sense of intelligence to it, which immediately implies that it could be dangerous. So this howling draws closer, and it's actually making it difficult for the characters to rest. And again, working in the powerlessness aspect. We're laterally attacking the characters' resources here. We're making it so that they aren't able to recover hit points or spells or whatever they might need to do, which increases the tension and the fear that they might have about what's to come. And then finally, in this same kickoff encounter, the howling, there's a set of forest rumors. So after this howling begins and the characters are sort of experiencing this for the first time, each character is going to get to roll on the forest rumors table, and this is throwing out even more mystery and foreshadowing. All of these rumors are related to some spooky kind of ghost story that's meant to increase the tension and give the characters a further sense of, oh, could this be real? Could this be what's happening? So for example, one of these is they say the old woodlanders used to send one unlucky soul out into the forest when the evil spirits were restless, and that person never came back. And maybe another example that will be good is an entire logging site turned up empty in these woods a few months back. Camp gear was strewn everywhere, and they never found a single person. So these rumors are meant to increase the mystery and the suspense. So after this plays out, then we're going to move on to the next part of this little scenario here called It Strikes. And this is when the Night Hunter makes its first move. So it scares a group of elk that are in the forest into charging through the character's camp. So the character are going to hear footsteps and hooves coming at them, and then the elk actually burst into the camp and create a scene of chaos and potentially attack the characters, depending. And the characters will notice that actually two of the elk have deep cuts on them that are bleeding down their flanks. And these were cuts made by the Night Hunter, and these are some clues. And again, we're spiraling out the suspense and the mystery here by giving clues. We're not completely withholding information. We're giving little gumdrops of information as time goes on about what spooky thing is going on without directly revealing it. And now this is a difficult balance to strike with mystery because it's easy to either give no information or give too much. So what we're doing with this encounter is we're showing that there's a threat that has intentionally interfered with these elk and caused this to happen, and it's injured them, and it's therefore a dangerous or deadly thing. So that's the kind of information we're giving out at this early stage. Now, after this situation, the characters are probably going to try to either drive off or calm down the elk, and during that encounter, the night hunter is going to sneak to the edge of camp and steal one of their pack animals, if they have a pack animal. And if they don't, then he's going to leave some signs of his presence at the camp, some X's in the trees leading 60 feet off into the woods where there's a dead elk. And so he'll either drag off a pack animal and kill it, or he'll leave a dead elk for the characters to find with some very obvious signs leading towards that. And again, mystery and suspense. At this point, the characters are going to say, whoa, there's something dangerous out there, and it just sneaked up to our camp and got away with harming something. And so this is just a quick sidestep here as well, that the Night Hunter is a new creature in here that has stats, as well as an associated magic item that helps explain who the Night Hunter is and why the Night Hunter exists. So your characters might actually come across this magic item if they defeat the Night Hunter. And another little thing to throw out there is there's a map included with this of a campsite. And this is actually by my wife, who is Lanterns Light Maps on Patreon. And she actually is releasing this specific map that we designed together for this scenario as something that you can also use or license in a commercial work in case you want to do your own take on this kind of spooky adventure. You can actually pick up a copy of this map and a bunch of different variants of it on her Patreon, patreon.com/lanternslightmaps. But all right, back to the adventure. So after this elk situation, we move on to the next encounter of the night, which is a cry for help. And this is when the Night Hunter gets close to camp and is planning to make its move soon to attack the characters. And it is mimicking the voice of a person in distress. Now, we're really laying it on thick here with the suspense, and in this case, powerlessness, because at this point, the characters know something bad is out in the forest. Now they can hear someone who is supposedly in danger who needs their help, and it's the Night Hunter trying to draw them out into the darkness of the woods by mimicking a person in distress. So the characters have a choice here. They can either go try to intervene and save this person, in which case the Night Hunter will spring some surprise attacks before sliding off into the woods again, or they can listen as the Night Hunter plays out this dramatic scene of chasing somebody down and attacking them. And any characters who hear this happen, first of all, they won't be able to sleep, and they'll also have to roll for some short-term madness. They'll have to make a save against short-term madness because hearing this happen is so horrifying. And again, madness is a really classic way to impose some powerlessness on the characters. Now, short-term madness only lasts 10 minutes, so it's kind of just a flavor and a bit of a spooky scare here, but again, it's kind of attacking the characters' resources without attacking their hit points or their armor class, or making them do a direct engagement with the problem. We're still avoiding direct engagement because we're still trying to keep that mystery up. So then, there's a chance that the Night Hunter will actually capture a PC in this person and will do the Night Hunter's classic maneuver of capturing that person, hammering wooden spikes through them so they get stuck on a tree, and then leaving them there. So the rest of the party will either have to go rescue that person in the darkness or leave that PC there until the final confrontation with the Night Hunter. So now at this point, they're going to start to know something intelligent is out there and it's after us. And then this is finally when we're going to spring the final encounter called the butchery, because it's the Night Hunter. And this is where we're finally going to give the characters the catharsis of a combat. This is the last encounter here. So we're breaking the mystery and we're breaking the suspense. We're giving the characters back some power to finally confront this final enemy. So the Night Hunter is going to rush into the clearing and start attacking. And the Night Hunter is a very dangerous combatant. So we might still be playing a little bit to the powerlessness because it can deal a lot of damage and a character might go down during this fight. So that is the final encounter. I hope the characters can overcome the Night Hunter And if they do, they'll be able to take the knife that the Night Hunter is carrying. It's a butcher's blade, and it's actually a powerful but cursed magic weapon. And this might later on explain who the Night Hunter is, because somebody who wields this blade and kills 3 creatures with it has to start making will saves or they become the next Night Hunter. So that will explain it a little bit. Also some future adventure hooks. So I do have an aftermath section here about ways that you could spin this adventure out into further situations or encounters. And I hope that this was a good walkthrough of some of the primary ways to instill horror into your adventures. And I hope you get a chance to download this adventure and run it with your group if you're looking for something to throw on the table for Halloween. So enjoy it, grab the link down below, and let me know what you think. Thanks for listening. My pumpkin also thanks you for listening, and we will catch you guys later. Happy gaming.